TRIAPHIE focuses on the shiatsu, or a man who practices this type of healing and specializes in doing that practice in others. And he speaks about his history with his asthma bronchi, which is a diagnosis that he got when he was pretty young, and how it chronically affected his lungs and how it affected his life. And his asthma continued to get worse, even with all the medication that he was prescribed. And he kind of got to the point where he understood that this medication isn't working and made the decision to take the future into his own hands. And this is when everything kind of shifts because he really steps out on faith. He quits his job. He focuses full time on the shiatsu and the massage therapy that he was doing. He was motivated to do an Ironman race, which, when you think of asthma and, these triathlon style races, it just doesn't come hand to hand. But he decided to step out on faith and do it anyway. He comes from a life where his asthma is so crippling that, the idea of being able to achieve athletic feats is a huge accomplishment. So he stepped out on faith and just knew in his heart that this ailment would not hinder him. And he actually stopped taking his medication and was still able to achieve this race. So for me, this documentary was just it all. To me, the word that just keeps coming to me when I think of this is faith, stepping out on faith, believing in yourself despite the circumstances. And this was just such a great example of that.
These reviews for TRIAPHIE, they give us an incredible recount of overcoming asthma through exercise and determination. It is an inspiring film with lots of beautiful scenes of Manfred swimming or cycling or running, which immensely improved his quality of life, transitioning from a sedentary lifestyle with doctor that gave him zero chance of recovery or ever stopping taking pills, to an active, dynamic, competitive sportsman, which is just inspiring. I wish we could showcase this in every public health institution. It is outstanding, quite the character he had, and I am so glad I watched it. Kudos for the producers.
This is a film that shows just how resilient and capable the human will is, and how we can overcome adversity, and how we can uh, push through our perceived boundaries and barriers. Um, this man is so brave. This man is so determined to overcome his diagnosis and heal himself when modern medicine fell short and wasn't helping him. That scene of him kind of losing steam, he's leaning against a wall. I think he's maybe under a tunnel, and he's there, and he's just like, he wants to give up, and then he pushes himself to keep going because he has a goal in mind, and he's training for this competition, and just the sheer will and determination is so inspiring. Um, because I think anybody could, get that diagnosis. He has, I think, 60% lung capacity in one of his lungs. Anybody would say, I need to take it easy for the rest of my life because this is something that affects me and will continue to affect me, and I don't want to make it worse. And, he kind of went the opposite way and like overcorrected. And it really paid off for him in the end, which is absolutely incredible. So I think, his determination and motivation is such a beacon of light, I think, for people who are struggling, and just to know that the body is so wise and the body is so strong, even when we think it's not. And we're capable of so many things. And yeah, I think that this is just a wonderful story to hear. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel inspired. Maybe it motivates you to go outside and be a little bit more active. Because sometimes the only thing holding you back is yourself. And I'm just so proud of this man who against all odds, achieved his dream. So really, really amazing piece.
I really liked the images and the running sequences, along with the experience it made for a really inspiring documentary.
Here we have the story of this gentleman who has been faced with this health crisis that he's had his entire life. He's grown up with it, but eventually he is hit with the challenge of having to alter the course of his life as he knows it. There are not many options for him to carry forward and carry on. And you watch him take on this Iron Man training, he calls it. He's swimming, he's biking, he quit his full-time job, he alters his life by a 180, and in doing so, he has it to where he doesn't have to take medicine, and he has really altered the way that his whole body works now. And I think that just speaks wonders of, sometimes you might be hit with things and changing is okay. Making a difference might be beneficial to you. It might, change your body, mind, body, spirit, soul. All these things matter in the long run. And he was essentially, he doesn't say that he's facing death, but in a sense, he is facing himself in the mirror and coming to terms with who he is and what changes he needs to make in order to feel like he's doing good for himself and his body. And so in doing so, he ends up taking on this Iron Man regimen, so to speak, and he ultimately changes the outcome of his very existence.
I think TRIAPHIE was very inspirational. I really enjoyed this documentary, and it makes you think that for someone who had a respirational hindrance and sort of those sort of issues, and them still wanting to, despite their issues, to achieve greatness and to push themselves and challenge themselves. I think that's inspirational for people who don't really maybe not have those illnesses, or who don't struggle with as much, that, there are no excuses, and you should be able to push yourself regardless of whatever you're going through, and you can push yourself regardless of what you go through. The shots of him kind of cycling and swimming and physically challenging himself, I think, were very important and impactful, because besides him just speaking about having challenges and speaking about enjoying the outdoors and all that stuff, we seeing it and him sort of doing it really just enhances the narrative. And I think it also just shows truly how much he enjoys these things, and how much at times too that his illness could, truly take a toll on him, and what that must be like for him. I did enjoy that he narrated the story as well, and that you can see him on camera, especially when he's speaking about more emotional things, seeing his face and the way his voice sort of fluctuates when he speaks about certain things. I think it was a really great choice, and I think the graphics were incredible as well, very well done, and I like the sort of dust aspect to them. So that was what I thought of the film.